We got to ask, right? I mean, that's the first part of all this. And, one of the big things we emphasize, with the whole return to learn part of things that I talked about is you have to remember that it's an invisible injury for most of the symptoms that they're experiencing. So I stress with these kids that the teacher can't see your headache. They can't see the light or noise sensitivity. They can't see you're struggling. They can't see that you're getting stressed out because you got 6 assignments that are backed up and you don't know how you're going to finish those types of things. So unless someone speaks up, and it really has to be that individual to start off with, and we try and encourage these kids to be advocates for themselves. We don't want their parents doing it all for them. That's a big problem when I see kids come into the office and the parents start doing all the talking. I'm like, you're not that kid. He's the one or she's the one who's experiencing everything. So you can't be inside that person's body and see what's really they're experiencing. So you know, when you're talking about things like bullying, well, that's what was the situation that happened. And so you have to get the history of the injury, right? And so if you're not getting the complete history, then you're not going to have the full picture. And as I stress with these kids, if I don't know what's going on, I can ask you on my symptom checklist what stuff you're experiencing. But if we're not talking about that further and we don't know, the details behind each of those things, then it's going to be really hard for me to make proper and appropriate recommendations for you of what's going to help get you better. So when we go through symptom checklists in the office, we use that as a starting point. I don't use that and tally it up and then we're done. I go through each of those individual symptoms. All right, so tell me about the headache. So where do you have your headaches? How often are they there? Are they there for 5 minutes out of the day and the rest of the day you're perfectly fine? Or are they constant throughout the day? Those are two different things that animals there as far as how we're going to manage that kid. Is it sensitive to light certain situations? Are they having troubles focusing and concentrating? If they're marking down, they're sensitive or anxious. Well, what are they anxious about? I had a kid the other day who wrote down anxiety on their sheet, and I asked them about it as far as what they're anxious about. And they're anxious about COVID. They weren't anxious about their concussion or their school, but they're anxious about COVID and being back in the school environment because of COVID. So if you don't get the details, then it's going to be really hard. And I'm a very big detail-oriented person. I kind of consider myself to be, I like to call myself the medical detective. That's what my history taking is all about. If you don't get the right information, you're going to have an incomplete story and your management plan is not going to be appropriate. So the devil's in the details, and that may mean you have to talk to a teenager who doesn't really want to talk to you. Tease things out of them and push them on it a little bit, because again, we're all on the same page. We're all trying to get you better and get you back feeling back to normal as soon as possible. And that does take a little work. And if you're not comfortable with the teenage population of having those discussions, it may be more of a challenge for you.